view here. Okay, good. That is awesome. So welcome. I'm excited to be with you guys today. Thank you for joining and taking time out of your day to participate in this session. It is very important you acknowledge this is from IAN, and IAN is International Education and Resource Network. We have been working with teams with several teachers, and most of them you are there in the meeting. We are particularly focused more on this one being a network of teachers who are very passionate about teaching using technology to support transformative teaching and learning, or to facilitate transformative teaching and learning. So we are just a big group. We are a very big group, not even just a very big group, definitely. And we wish to keep looking at various possibilities. As you come to Teams and being part of the members of the teams, kindly let me take you through a bit of how you can participate in this meeting. You can turn on your video or turn off your video if you like. There's a chat section where you can decide whether you want to do chatting. You can show, you can even see participants, or you can add somebody whom you want to attend. You just type their email addresses and they'll be able to, when you log in, they will be able to come in and attend. Then we have access to additional call controls. There are other things there you can always look at. Then you can also share your screen in case you'll be called upon to assist or rather maybe to talk. I know that. Before we get started, I think we would better make sure everyone understands the features within our Teams call. That helps us. It is very important. It is really very important. We need to so one of the chat bar and all those ones which are there. So you'll find even a microphone there if you want to mute, but it is good practice you mute yourself all through, so that at least you just raise your hands so that we work together. It is very important. Great. And you can type your questions, then we get to response. Ask questions, share an insight and stuff like that. So, and remember, this call is being recorded. If you don't want to be on a recording, you have a couple of options. You can leave the call and watch the recording later, or turn your camera off. Having your camera during the call is completely your decision, because remember, you have to think about your bandwidth. So you can put anything about that. I don't know whether there's anything I can really talk about. Yes, so let us go straight to what we are talking about. I don't know whether I have everybody on board and whether my screen is able to be seen, and maybe talking and leaving people behind.
Yeah. You okay? Yeah.
Yes, so thank you so much. And maybe if at all we left others. Okay, I can see messages there. Okay, ready. Robin Akondani kabisa. Irene, they are ready. Okay, good. So when you talk about hybrid learning, this is a new concept, and it's very good for an opportunity for those people who are doing a bit of masters. You can always learn. So when you talk about hybrid learning, what do we say? This definitely we want to try to discuss the future of education, hybrid learning, and then I'll start with an overview of the varieties of hybrid learning, or remote, and basically we want to see what's the difference between remote and hybrid learning models. We've had these terms being used left, right, center. I'll then discuss some elements of hybrid learning, and finally we'll explore each element and the best practice of each if possible. But that is if time allows, because this is a long presentation. Maybe we'll have to do just half of it, and then later we will definitely continue with it. But by the time we end, you'll find out that already we have done something. So how would you describe hybrid learning to a parent? Kindly just get to the chat section and type something. What do you think? How would you describe hybrid learning to a parent? Let's just get started with a very quick check-in on what you currently think and when, especially when you hear the phrase hybrid learning. Based on your current thoughts about it, how do you describe hybrid learning to a parent? If you describe it in one or two sentences, what would you say? Go ahead and type your explanation in the chat window. That's how you get the chat window. Wale wanapika sasa, itabidi wache sufuria kidogo, utype tu kidogo. Yeah, I see they are coming in chats. Learning that's both online and offline. Omari says like that. I don't know whether anybody else has any. Just open your chat and answer the question. If you are not seeing the question, just let me know. Okay. Maxwell, are you there? I've not seen your response. What would you tell a parent what hybrid learning is all about? Salamina, you are the first one to get in. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Yes, try that.
I joined as a guest.
Yes?
I joined as a guest, so I can't chat.
Oh, you can't chat. Okay. But what would you, okay, just tell us, what do you think you'd be telling a parent when they ask you this thing you're calling hybrid learning? What is it?
Learning.
Yes? Salavina, I didn't get that. Oh, network yako mbaya. Maxwell, saidia yeye.
David, can you hear me?
Yes.
I think these are a type of learning that combines, we could talk of the modern online teaching and learning with the traditional approach that we are used to. And hence the word may be hybrid.
Hybrid, yes.
That's what I think, yeah.
Okay, good. Let us just see why we are saying, probably you now get to understand when we talk about hybrid, what we really mean. Because what you are trying to say is what Anita tried saying, it is blended. So let us see. Let us see the difference so that you see what I'm talking about. It is crazily important you look at it. But maybe let me take you back. The disruption and the shifting to remote learning. What really happened? And what have we learned so far? Remember when the whole thing happened and the schools were being closed, these are some of the questions. Maybe you cannot be able to see very clearly, but I want to try and yeah. Some of the questions that you are asking, how do I get connected? Just individual. What tool or platform should I use? How do I cope with so many lists of resources? How are my students doing? You know, these are the questions that I think every teacher was really asking themselves. The lesson, let me just get back, probably, so that at least, all right, let me see. Yeah, so here, these are some of the questions that we asked as teachers. How can we best connect with and check in with our learners? So these are some of the areas. What about the system, the schools, the ministry? Everybody else was asking themselves, how do we provide access to technology? Is there connectivity? Can we go the TV way? And how sure are we that all learners are really getting it? How do we do continuity of academic learning? How do we support students who lack independent skills for learning? Because there are those students who could not, they were used to bells ringing for them to change. But here is a question where everything, this move was so abrupt, unprecedented, leaving policymakers and practitioners scrambling to provide safe and expedient way to provide learning at home. And remote learning became the quick fix. Remember the remote learning, it really came very quickly, handy, and like, let us do remote learning. Can you teach from far? Can you send them through WhatsApp? Can we send them assignments? Can we do this? Can we try checking on them? That was the quick fix. But now that, I think you can see with time now, teachers and students are already tired. If you are to go again for a further, because again, I know we will go for probably another time, because these students may go to school, something happens again, they come back home very quickly. They can go to school and an outbreak again start happening, which we don't pray.
Yes.
Yes.
Without any other.
Yeah. It's here.
Maxwell.
Na cable.
Maxwell, you are on. And mute.
David, I can hear you.
Mute yourself.
I had muted. Ni wewe umeniamsha.
Kweli, na mbona sasa unaongea kuhusu cable iko kwa ofisi? Okay, no problem. It's okay. Thank you. So I'm just saying there is possibilities that the learners will come to school on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or probably Friday, then the whole thing again starts. What will really happen? Has anybody really looked at that? Again, we'll close and they go back home, which we don't pray, but are we really going to still go to the quick fix method of working? There's also possibilities that some parents will refuse to bring their kids totally to school. How do we help those learners whose parents have refused? Can I get some discussion? Somebody can handle that. Are we going back to this remote learning, which was just a quick fix? Are we getting back to probably Zoom classes or Teams? What are we going to do? Has anybody really wondered and even put things in place? Let me hear some of the lessons. Or maybe let me just put you through so that I'll put, because we said we are not going to go very far, but at least it's good to look at some of the lessons that I think we learned along the way before we think about the future. One, it is important that digital alone could not replace the social and pedagogical impact of the teachers. The pedagogical impact of the teacher is important. We need to be there. Parents also were able to recognize that the teaching is not a simple job as it appears. They were struggling with these kids at home. They were not able to teach them. That's one thing that is true. Many teachers now embrace technology to reach out to the young people and even their families. Even teachers who refused technology completely, we saw them really picking very well. And then the critical role of the school became more appreciated than ever before. Kumbe hawa watoto ni vizuri wakiwa shuleni, wakiwa nyumbani ni kelele, ni shida. So people started appreciating the role of that the school can play. And I think these are some of the lessons that have been just some. I know maybe anybody who has any lesson that we have learned along the way, can you share?
Yes, David,
Yes.
I can share.
Right.
I am James.
Yes.
So some of the lessons that we have learned is one, when the pandemic started, I trained in a college. So we started the online lessons, but now the biggest challenge came in when you plan for the lessons or for the classes, you find that most of the students don't have the gadgets to join the online lessons. They don't have the smartphones. And for the few that have, you get that they join for some time, they leave because of bundles, some even leave when you ask them questions. So now for me, when if you ask them questions as in they leave and then they join later, because you have no control now.
When you've asked that question on what if we go back for the physical training and
Yes.
pandemic happens, what
Yes.
should we do? My first point is this, yes?
Yes.
The first point is that you cannot force someone to come to class and learn. Education is a personal initiative, and the parents are supposed to play a very key role. So the first people who are supposed to be empowered with this are the parents. Okay, the parents are supposed to understand the importance of the learning. Then two, if we go back to the physical learning and some of the students don't join back to the school, even if we bring now the online lessons, are we sure that each one of those who are at home will be able to access this? Okay, in terms of bundles, in terms of having the smarter gadgets or what, it's really a very thick line. Okay, it's a very thick line which no one has an answer. It is just an experiment. We are just trying to check. We tried this, we tried that, we tried this until it works. So that's my take.
Yeah, thank you so much for the contribution. Yes, that's why I was looking at these barriers that we were looking at. Some of the barriers we also learned along the way was that there was serious availability of technological infrastructure was missing. Then there was even the aspect of addressing student emotional well-being. They can join your class and maybe they are having problems. Alikula alala njaa. He has not eaten. Maybe he has quarreled with the parents. He has problems or she has gotten into trouble. How do we really get those emotional well-being of the learners, especially when they are very far? And then addressing the right balance between digital and screen-free activities. You know, screen-free activities, how do they stop looking at your Zoom class and then start doing an activity away from your classes? I don't know whether you are able to do breakouts and if they can be able to go out and do something and bring back. You know, some of these things were very, very hard. And then even the technological infrastructure, as you have said, some don't have the gadget and others, even if they have the gadget, don't have the bundles. The young people also, they have that problem. Parents are also not willing to give them money, especially you in colleges now, you are in trouble because parents don't expect to give those big senior people in the house money for bundles. They just think if they give them money, they're going to get into drugs or get to waste. So there are all those things. Those are some of the barriers we are saying really interfered with some of those little efforts we are doing. These are things you need to put in place, guys, especially those who are doing their masters and PhD. These are very new areas to study. If I was probably, I think, then let us do, learning continues, but the idea is moving forward, if I can say, we need some continuity. That ensuring that there's continuity of the academic learning for students it's something that I know everybody would wish to think about. And then supporting students who lack skills for independent study. Remember, it's not just having gadgets. There are those who even have gadgets, but they can't control themselves and study. Akiwa hako kwa WhatsApp group, you can't. Then assessing learning, were we able to assess the integrity of the, even how are you able to assess the learners? Is it by giving them A, B, C, D? And how was that one really qualifying that there was learning going on? What about the parents? We need to ensure that we support the parents as James has just given us that contribution. Then the well-being of both the teacher and the student is something which is important and we have to take into account. So these are some of the lessons that we have learned along the way. So moving forward, whatever thing happens, we will need to know as an aspect of continuity, we have to ensure learning will still continue. We have to support students who lack skills. We have also support and assess to ensure that the assessment, as we are assessing the learning, is very authentic. Parents who have problems and issues of understanding what's going around should also be supported. And then the well-being of students. And this is what made the school. So we looked at the well-being and looked at the learning and we said well-being comes first. And even as we are moving forward, probably we are still having the same idea that well-being of both the teachers and the student comes first. But what about the learning? Can we still continue learning? Or is there anything? There's a big disruption, guys, and you never know the effect of this until you see different models of learning coming into place. That's why we are thinking of this new model called hybrid. So moving forward, we recognize that we are no longer working on a temporary or stopgap solution. We are not going to go that way. As soon as we move those things, Mwalimu, you people are doing this because they were not really working. So we need to come up with something, not just a stopgap solution. The delivery of education in both physical and remote setting is still very essential. Because for sure, students will not come. Not all of them will come to the school. It is time to move beyond blending traditional teaching and online instruction, both happening within the brick and mortar, to something more. So that's where we're talking about what my colleague Maxwell was saying, probably mixing the two. We are not going to blend. That is called blended learning. And this time around, can we move beyond that? But again, maybe before moving forward to that, there's something I need to also bring to your level. We know these other approaches of teaching, like problem-based learning, whatever-based teaching. There's even, which I know most of you used, probably we have something to do with flipping classroom. All these models of learning, which teachers used all over, teachers are using in each and every session, and we will take you through that, because IAN is more of about problem-based learning. But there's also another learning we have just discovered, which happened. And this is what I'm calling life-based learning. I don't know whether anybody saw this life-based learning. Life-based learning is an intense learning method in a natural environment. It has a profound impact on people. In fact, we say just like it's transformational, just like its transformations, okay, highs, lows, life offers a very stimuli and opportunity to learn. You know that already, especially, and even the possibility of practicing soft skill that the classroom cannot offer. These kids were able to visit their uncles, they were able to visit their relatives, they were able to get involved. The girls whom we were hiding away from boys, they were able now to learn negotiation skills so that they can be able to escape getting pregnant, or else they'll be in trouble. Boys whom we were very afraid that we have to keep them in school so that they don't get into drugs. I don't know, Maxwell, do you think all of them got into drugs? And how did others survive without getting to drugs? You know, there are those things that teachers think that if kids keep coming to school every day, they will stop being pregnant, probably they'll stop getting into trouble. But how did these kids learn to survive? Because they are coming back unscathed. Nothing happened to them. What do you think happened? There was learning taking place. That kind of learning is what you're calling life-based learning. And look at even the young children. I met a 2-year-old who was speaking English just because she has been looking at these cartoons of English, the Peppa Pig, and could follow the stories. And now she would speak very nice English. You see, life has taught her all that. Some of these things, life-based learning can fully harness this concept of the stimuli, the soft skill, the whatever. Is there anybody who want to talk about this in case somebody has ever come across this kind of learning, life-based learning? The master's students in the house, or the people who are doing education at PhD level. Edward would have joined us to explain more. But I think it's some concept we really encourage. That is what has just happened. Not all kids have gotten into trouble as we were thinking. Not all young people are into pornography. No, not everybody has. Some have learned, some maybe have not learned. And the same thing even happened in the school scenario. There are those who pass getting A's, there are others who will always get a D, no matter how much or an E, no matter how much you pump into them. The same way when they go out, even life cannot teach them to learn those soft skills and the life skills and the other meta competencies. Anybody with anything here?
Yeah, David, I think you've really brought it out well on the issues to do with life-based learning. I was just thinking aloud as you're trying to highlight that, because I've had scenarios of students who probably live in this what I can say gated community, and per se in quotes wale watoto wanatoka kwa nyumba zenye gate kali ama mbwa kali. So you realize such a kid is not very much good at adapting to life situations. For instance, when they get some bit of freedom out there, probably post-secondary, they're going to college, and then they realize college is another level where nobody is there to monitor. Most of them have been victims of either dropping out or enjoying too much freedom until they cannot concentrate on their classes. But those students who are in quotes put as bad boys or bad girls, probably at high school, they end up doing very well out there post-school, because these are people who have managed to adapt to what life throws at them, and they know how to navigate through hard situations, and therefore they don't fall victims very easily to certain things. And also looking at what you've always told us about emotional intelligence and that, I think this period of pandemic has really come in well. Okay, unfortunately it had to happen, but then most students, I think, have learned how to deal with stress, deal with things like rejection and all that, because at the end of the day, unlike where probably a boy is rejected by a girl, then they go to school, they forget about it. This is somebody that I've been meeting with every day. He was rejected, he'll still meet the same person tomorrow and the day after, because they are free. So they learn to deal with it. They learn to deal with it, and I think it has come out very well on this issue of life.
Yes, life-based learning. It's something we need to talk about. Those people who want to write papers, kindly write papers. The problem with me, I have these wonderful ideas. We do a lot of work in our research, but we don't write papers. But we open up so that people learn. There's a lot about life-based learning that has taken place. So let us not worry about the learners when they come back. They have learned a lot. Maybe they may not have learned our so-called curriculum content, but in terms of maybe soft skill, they have got it. Some of these meta competencies, they have really learned along the way. As my friend has said, that even accommodating rejection, accommodating bad people around them, knowing relatives, something we know schools have been denying our children for years. Now we can appreciate that without school, things have really happened. But now let us now go deep. I think I was just trying to cover around so that we know we are just building the concept that first and foremost, it is still important to know that school is very important. Yes, we are going to have opening. And of course, this is something I wanted to talk about, but already it's really happening. Partial opening. This is what is really happening in all over the world, and it is not strange on our side. But then we have synchronous and separated. Synchronous and asynchronous, but now we are going to have something called synchronous learning, and then there's separated learning. All these things are coming, guys, and it is great to read some of the explanation, or rather to read some of the comments that you guys are putting here. But what I want you to see is what you're currently seeing is a view of what hybrid learning will look like. While hybrid learning has been a part of education system for many years, for most institutions, this learning model is being now put into place because of COVID. And probably you can be able to see that. One, in terms of partial opening, some schools are allowing only specific students return. And I think you have seen that the whole government is thinking about that. And this is also going to happen even in the private and the international school, where only few students, just a particular group, is eligible to returning to school. Then I want you to look at that. The reason why I'm bringing that is so that you pick that in your mind, because I want to complicate it right now. So let me imagine that students with special needs and all those who do not have access to connected devices, what will they do? How will they do? Then they'll have to come back to school. The remainder of the students who can continue with their education in a virtual environment will do what? Do they really need to come to school? As that is one thing that you need to think about, because that's where we are headed to. That students who cannot have gadgets to be reached to, them they are going. Because after right now, this partial opening would target those candidate classes. But again, we have another team who are outside there. How will we bring them on board so that the schools do not get or so filled up and all these things coming in? Maybe there are students who are going to remain outside and then they are not going to come because they have gadgets anyway. Then let us look at the next concept of synchronous and separated. So you'll find that in these particular cases, as James has told us, there are some institutions that are already conducting, okay, they will be conducting face-to-face and online instruction at the same time. That's what we're calling synchronous and separated. That is, some students are in person, they are in class, while others are joining the same class remotely. Hey guys, I don't know whether I'm alone. I'm making it so difficult.
It is okay. Continue.
No, David. We are with you. Okay.
But are you getting this silly idea I'm bringing?
We are digesting.
Synchronous
as you
and
explain,
separated.
digest. Huh?
Yes. Yes. That I'm saying, in this
are
particular
getting you,
situation, you
David.
find that in a school or rather in an institution, some students are in the classroom and others are joining the same classroom remotely. They are not in the classroom, but they have decided to stay at home. Parents will have refused to bring their kids in school, but the parent says, I don't mind. I have a gadget. When you are teaching, let me know, and my girl or my daughter or my boy will join in remotely to attend that lesson. Wow. And then maybe the other approach is rotational. In the rotational, of course, as the word says, students are on and off the campus, or rather in the school. For example, students attend classes on specific days while their peers are remotely, probably in a learning management platform. And then on other days, again, the attendance flips. And those working remotely go to school while others work asynchronously. Look at those models, those three models. Which one do you think we can move forward with, probably as an institution? Anita, which one do you want to pick for your institution if you're asked upon?
David.
Yes.
I think asynchronous and separated can work, depending. We can combine all of them because of the different.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so now listen.
Somebody is, oh, Irene.
Yes.
Martin, go ahead.
Yes, David, I believe we can apply all of the approaches where possible, synchronous and separated, rotational, depending on how people are available, because we need to take care of all other categories to reach their needs and the availability, because you don't want to leave any group because of one or another reason. Thank you.
So which one are you taking to your institution, Martin? Which one do you think is very important? James is here.
Currently we are doing synchronous and separated. Because our TVET institution, hello?
Yes.
Our TVET institutions are opened, and when they say some students to report, some of them haven't reported, but we still reach them via the online mechanism. Thank you.
Are they attending the same lessons as in, like, if you when you are conducting a lesson, are they also attending the lesson remotely, or they virtually, they are waiting to see this, to, I mean, in terms of the whole thing should just, like, you put them still PDFs and throw them inside some LMS for them to see? Anita.
Yes,
Mwegi.
What you are doing, possibly while you are training, you just decide to to have the session also live, so that they can follow from wherever they are.
Anita, tell me, what do you think works for you?
The synchronous and separated is a bit challenging because of the infrastructure. Because if you have students on board, you're training the students, and you have others joining from home, it means you must have cameras so that you can streamline. You can stream live for
yes,
those
and that is what we want the colleges and the institutions to start now thinking around, because that is really the actual meaning of hybrid learning.
Sure. In fact, that is we are thinking along that direction, and there's a lot of infrastructural implications. So, but it is the way to go. It will be the best, because also we are being told that.
Yes.
Because again, we are being told as we are undertaking learning, we don't have to leave other students behind, whether they can be able to attend physically or not. So you see, this is the best way. Yeah.
Wow. I hope you are seeing very big things we
David,
are talking about. This is crazy. James, say something, James, yes.
Yes, I just want to give some input. As we are speaking now, before we resumed, we go back to the physical classes. There is a circular that came from the ministry, and the circular was saying that for the colleges, for the TVET colleges, we're supposed to open for partial learning. And I just want to talk from experience. As in, personally, I am working on a timetable, okay, as we speak for my department. And in that timetable, I'm only supposed to capture the candidates who are supposed to sit for their exams in July. Those ones first only. Those are the ones who are supposed to join in from 26th of October. Okay. So my key point here is this. As we discuss some of these policies, I also hope, as in some of the policy makers, the people at the top, if they can also be able to understand some of these concepts, so that as they give us some of these ways forward, they also know that there are so many other different approaches which you're supposed to use. Because now for us, if I combine both, and the ministry has given me this directive, I have to follow something which has been given as an order. Okay, so if I introduce this one, I'm also supposed to get an approval for that and what. But I believe as we move forward, we'll have some way forward. Thank you.
Yes, we are also not really probably denying what the government is doing, because I'm telling you, everybody is in panic. Nobody knows the way, especially those whom we trust. Because one thing that I always blame with my policymakers is they don't read. When they read, when they stopped reading after graduating from their masters or from their PhDs or from their technical schools, they stopped completely doing more research. They stopped really seeing things in a very, very practical manner, and therefore they've just been up there. So they may make some of these directives, but when you sit down with them, they can always understand. So that's what we have always wanted. We have always done. We always sit down with them, and things are good. Like this concept of hybrid learning. Now that we are bringing it here, I think it has already been taken by Microsoft and other teams, and they're already up. The people are being taught around it, and definitely it is something that is now moving across the world. So that we need to understand that as much as the directive has been said, you are not going to force a parent to bring their children to school, even if they have exams tomorrow, because well-being of a teacher and well-being of a child will still going to be paramount for the parents. So maybe the parents, as you have seen, they have refused. They have started saying we can't bring our children. What about if they refuse? The government instructions may not force the parent to bring the child to school, but you as a teacher will be told, ensure you have all of them in the class. But what about the ones who are not going to come to class? So I think, as James has said, maybe we can really discuss further. But let me bring to this. So the component of hybrid, definitely, as we have said, therefore, is a mix of all those three models that we are talking about. There's an aspect of partial opening. A group is opening, others are not opening. Why? Because either the school is too small and we don't want to build more classes, we don't have that money. Instead of building more classes, why don't we use that money, as Anita had said, to put in a very good infrastructure of streaming, screencasting, and probably installing whiteboards, virtual whiteboards, where the learners at home and learners in the classroom can be able to still to work together, yet in the same class, with a live teacher in session, and get enough internet for the same. Partial opening. Synchronous and separated is there. Then rotational. But even if it's rotational, then it means when others are in school, the others are going home, and then the others are coming in. But those who are home are not missing out because they are at home. So that is it, guys. That is what I'm calling hybrid learning. It's a mix of all those three models. So hybrid approach to learning builds on the success of probably what we have been saying, those models. In fact, we just want to create a learner-centered experience that is really, really, really personalized, relevant, and very engaging. So you can think about face-to-face. We are not going to leave face-to-face away. We are also not going to throw away our virtual. We are also not going to throw away the synchronous. But again, we have to ensure it is engaging. And then the separated model is coming in. And then we are talking about partial opening. It is crazy, but all that will have to come together. So what we are trying to say, hybrid learning, therefore, if I can just balance, is that it's taking the best of everything we have ever done. So it's not quick. Hybrid learning is not a quick fix for educational institution. No, instead it is a student-centered approach that combines the best of in-school, remote, digital, blended, any other thing you have ever thought about, so that we can accelerate learning to meet the diverse needs of the learners. In short, it integrates online instruction with face-to-face class activities in a very planned, pedagogical, valuable manner. I think that is what we need to really think about, thinking of all those things together. And I think there's this, the best of in-school and remote learning with digital engagement. It's just not a quick fix, as we have been thinking about it. So I think maybe that aspect of hybrid learning has come out, and there is a very thin line between it and probably blended learning, because here we are talking about these learners sitting on the same class while others are also there. You see, the blended learning, you decide which part do you want to blend. Maybe I can say topic A, topic 1, I want to put it face to face. Topic 2, I want it to be online on the LMS. But in hybrid, it's not about separating them on topic. Remember, blended learning and those other learnings, especially blended learning, is teacher focused. It's more about the teacher. The teacher is the one who sits down and says, I want to take this topic online, this one I'll do it face to face. I want to take this one offline, and this one probably like that. But in hybrid learning, all your teaching will have to be on both. You have face to face, and then learning is also there, and online is there, because there are students who are going to attend your lessons online, and there are students who are going to attend your lesson face to face with you in the classroom. I don't know whether now it's very clear, guys, and anybody whom I've left behind, because
it's think,
yes.
It's very clear, David, but my concern I just love the three methods of the hybrid. But my concern is, what about a special child under autism? Because
Yes.
autism, they are very hyper. So I imagine if you give them the gadgets, because they're only specific, the mild autism can handle the gadgets. But a larger group of it, when they are hyper, they can do damages to those digital platforms.
Yes, if they are at home, definitely. You know, the good thing with autism, first, as we have been doing with their special classes, and I think maybe we need, I think we'll get, Anita, what we need to do, just remind me, because we have some program, we have a very good presentation on how to deal with children with special needs or autism, dyslexia, and all that. I think we'll bring that one of these good days. But what I know is autism, if it's in a school, I think there are very many things which have been put in place. The only challenge comes in when it is at home, where now the parents may not have been given enough support to be able to do that. And that's why I started by saying some of the lessons we learned is that parents need support, a lot of support, to be able to support learning at home.
Like, in most cases, they overpower their parents. Their parents do not always have a say. So imagine if you find they can even beat them at home. Whoa. But when they are in school, they are very disciplined. But when they are at home, they cannot even be told to sit down.
I know. Now that's why we need to support the parents. So we'll have to look for a way of supporting these parents to be able to manage such students. Those are now the way forward. Because at the end of the day, I think this child will not live and die in the school. This child will one day go back to the parents. So the parents should be given the power, the skills to know how to manage this child. How are they surviving now that the corona is here? Are they beating their parents? Are the parents dead? No, they're still alive.
I'm telling you, most of them are yearning for that opportunity to be told, just let them just go back to school. But now another issue is also, we as Kenyans, we have not been sensitized about these special needs children, because anytime we see them as insane. We don't see them as part of our society.
No, the problem is you are blaming the wrong person. You are blaming Kenya, but it's not about the Kenyan who has a problem. The problem is just the system of education, which has always separated them, has always put them aside. Number two, teachers. Even me as a teacher, I was never taught how to even identify dyslexic in my classroom. Not even identifying the insane, those ones you're calling insane, in my classroom. So we are learning like by heart. But I wish a system where every teacher goes through to know that there's dyslexic kids. Number two, also the system of exams has also confused us. Sometimes a child is dyslexic, is also having autism in the classroom, but it's very mild. But because they're always number last in the classroom, a teacher only considers how the column must go to A. Because one, if you get many A's, Maxwell, if akipata A's mingi, atapata an award from parents. So the students who are letting you down with A's, they are your virtual enemies. Hata utaki kuwapata kwa barabara. Maybe this child is not performing well, not because of that, but it's because of is having some learning challenges, which us we are never taught. We are only taught to go and perform and get good. If you are not performing, you're not a performing teacher, you will be transferred. If you're not performing and getting good mean, you are going to be sent packing, or some other teachers will be looking at you and saying you're wasting time in the school. They look at what else you are doing. Where are you married? Maybe your marriage is the one interfering with your marks. Or how are you? Are you drinking? Are you putting on like this? Who are your friends? It becomes you are even stigmatized if your subject is coming last. And maybe you have a bunch of autistic students in your class, a bunch of dyslexic students. So those are some of the things, Irene, that in Iron, we usually take our time. We have lessons for for teachers handling special needs school, and I think we have been partnering with this institution calling itself something tutorial for the children with autism, and we've been giving them especially technological ways. There are so many wonderful technology apps that can be able to help, and that's what we need to do to the parents. We'll be able to teach them how to control such kind of kids with learning specials. And even teachers, we need to retrain most of the teachers so that they know how to identify a child. Even in those classes that you're saying are normal and not insane, there are autistics there. They are very mild. There are dyslexic kids there. And if, for example, I remember I was teaching language, and if a student is writing, has a very bad handwriting, that child nitamuita, nimchape kweli kweli because of handwriting. And we know definitely bad handwriting is usually one of the symptoms of dyslexic children. So you see, in my class, I will be killing that child forever. So Irene, there's a lot we need to learn in the education, and that's why professional development should be something continuous. That's what IAN does.
David.
Yes.
In the same spirit, I think it's also a high time that, thank God you brought out this issue to do with hybrid learning, but I'm also thinking that the policymakers need to be sensitized because, okay, it's a problem worldwide. It is a problem worldwide where we are conditioning our kids to a one way of thinking. We are grading them in the academia only because I don't know why we are having a scenario whereby you are grading a student in mathematics. This student might not have the arithmetic skill, but is gifted in another way. So probably we also need to rethink about having a hybrid curricula other than having a curricula that is strictly based on academic excellence and all that. And this conditioning, mass conditioning, starts right away from kindergarten. You are telling students you should know how to write all the alphabets A to Z. This student is not interested in writing alphabet, but is interested in drawing. Yes. This kid is interested in drawing. Maybe he could be a good translator of vernacular. Why are you insisting this kids know how to speak and write English? So we need to really rethink around the entire scenario on academics and curriculum, subject-based curriculum and all that, because it's only going forward you'll realize that most of the greatest guys we know today in technology, these are guys who dropped out of school. They never had grades. And here they are ruling over guys who have degrees and masters in terms of tech.
I tell you.
Where is our academics taking us?
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. Robin, your hand is up. We can discuss and then we just stop. Because I wanted us to stop at 8:30. Now we are getting to 9. Yes, Robin.
Okay, I think, thank you, David, for introducing this hybrid learning. And I've been viewing it from both directions. And I think I gave my views as both having it online and offline. However, it is more than that because you have said it includes the best of in-school and remote learning, actually with digital engagement. But as Maxwell has just rightly put it, our policymakers have a big challenge. First of all, I remember when we started talking about ICT integration in education, I remember what people are being taught is how to use Microsoft Word, how to use spreadsheets, and partly using slides. Then over time, I remember people started being taught how to use PowerPoint. Now, when you look at the aspect of what was taught and what was being delivered to the learners, still it was not making sense about the ICT integration part of it. So there is much to be done for the teacher training because we are talking, even right now, if you look at what is happening, we are talking about CBC, competence-based curriculum. And there are still so many institutions that are training teachers. But if you go down to inquire how many have changed the method of training these teachers to embrace the CBC, still you will find there is nothing that has happened. The same training that was being done in the year 2000 is the same training that is being done to the teachers today, who in turn need to come out and then start teaching CBC. So I think there is much that we need to really do to help the teachers come up with this hybrid, and especially talking about now what you are talking about as the synchronous and separated. If we are going to go that route, then there is a lot of infrastructure that need to be put in place. Thank you.
Maybe
thank you so much.
Sorry for me.
Yes.
As a parting shot for me, now that you are at a position where you mingle with these guys from the ministry and all that, next time go
yes.
Probably as a highlight, tell them to bring back the technical colleges. Why did they scrap off Kenya Science from the teaching colleges? Because I'm a product of Kenya Science, and I believe, not to brag, but I believe that the education prowess that I have right now, I can attribute it directly from where I trained as a teacher. So because not to downgrade any other college that is offering teaching and all that, but I believe having gone through Kenya Science for the 4 years, I got more than I had bargained for when I went to train as a teacher. And this is what I'm using right now in terms of so as
yes,
you go back,
Maxwell,
let them rethink about introducing those diploma colleges. It was not in vain.
I think the best approach and the best approach which the government, I think, has taken, just enhancing what we are calling continuous professional development, because there's also a possibility that you can introduce them and then you start that old approach which was being used in those schools or in those institutions, which may not apply in this particular situation. The best approach is what the government probably is, which we are encouraging, to have continuous professional development of teachers. That is TSC. I think they already sent us a curriculum to school that on Friday, each school should set aside 2 hours for professional development. And I think if that one is really put in place and embraced, and then we get quality professional developers. The problem with these people, when it comes to that, they only look for people so that they give them maybe certain money and stuff like that. They want to probably manipulate that. So the problem has always been misuse of funds when it comes to those. But remember, the government has put in place, I think just before we went for COVID break, there was a circular that was sent to all schools, especially the primary school, that each and every Friday, they must timetable professional development session. The same thing should go to these colleges, TVET institution, all the way to the university. They should set up a time for continuous professional development. Otherwise, because teachers, we can't rely on the teacher training colleges. We're not going to rely on the technical and probably vocational training colleges. Let them do their part in terms of the technical, but continuous professional development will be able to assist. I'm seeing a hand from Martin, then Robin is also trying to talk.
Maybe David, before you move out of that, just before you move out of what you're talking about, teacher development, I believe that what you're talking about is what the TSC introduced in the form of TPID, the Teacher Professional Development Modules.
Correct.
And I believe the TPID was brought, teachers, like we've been complaining for a long time about the salary payment and the rest. So as much as we are talking about these professional development courses, this TPID module was not brought in good faith to enable the teachers to develop themselves professionally. This is just, I can call it another hindrance for the teachers not to be shouting about salary, because immediately you want to be promoted, you'll be asked, have you done the TPID module? I don't know whether it is module 1 or module 2, the rest, the way they're organized. I think the best way of enhancing teacher professional development should be proposed by either TSC, but let the people who are conducting it be somebody, a different group. Thank you.
Yeah, I think maybe that is a discussion we'll take to their desk.
Yes, David.
Martin.
David Cantley. Okay. Sorry.
Maybe I want to add something by saying that whatever you are saying, it is true. And the greatest challenge you're having, like the other day in TVET institution, we are trying to introduce the change management, but you realize that the CEO you're having those places, they're not there for changes. I don't know if some of them, they feel like when those changes come to that place, they're going to lose their position. And I believe in the other day, you said there was a lot of reshuffling of principal in TVET institutions. And those are some of the challenges that people have been there. But when you introduce something new, like in terms of online training, there are a lot of rejections. I think Mr. James Mbogo, we normally interact with him in some places, and I really feel that feeling a lot of rejection and everything. But when now, as Motari and said, that you need some people who at least can come and train these people differently from whom they are used, and the practical based and skills and things to be enhanced to bring a change. Otherwise, it is very tricky. Thank you.
David Cantley.
Yes, James.
Okay, fine. I also want to put something, and I want to be so categorical. When you come to the TVET institutions, you get that majority of the trainers have been employed on BOM terms, and when it comes to employing the BOM trainers, because the colleges are paying them peanuts, they don't mostly look at the quality. So the trainers who are there are not of the standards that are supposed to be there. So what does that mean? When it comes to training, the same quality, okay? The quality of the trainer will also give you the same quality of the students. Then two, I had an idea there before, and I wanted to put this on the platform. We have, as in so many trainers in the TVET, people who have taught for 10 years, but how many of them have a field experience? For example, I train electrical, okay? Have been training, that is what I do, year in, year out, okay? What time do I always have to go and interact with the real market to know what trends are there, what is there? The idea I had was this, for the TVET institution trainers, because we want to produce students or people who will go out and solve the current issues. If there could be a program where when the colleges close for that 1 month, trainers also go out for internship somewhere in a company or somewhere for a month, so that they interact, they understand, and that way our trainers will be up to date. They'll be copying. But if we keep on same trainer in a class, you don't know what goes on in the field. Even if we change the,
you are absolutely right.
Yes. Thank you.
James, I want to cut you there, and I think maybe because of time, because remember we want to have another session, probably next Thursday, same time, then we can continue with this discussion as we take you through the remaining aspect of hybrid learning, where environment, you see the elements I've just put there, we can discuss each element, and then an environment where this kind of learning is going to take place is something we need to look at, because this is the future. Guys, this is the future of learning. Students are not going to come to school, some of them, but they'll want to learn. And others will want to come to school. The resources we have cannot accommodate all the learners. This is an opportunity for the ministry to do rotational kind of learning, but ensure those who are at home are also being able to get this learning. This is the time for teachers also to update their skills so that we move totally to the learner-centered learning. Remember, in hybrid learning, it is so much of learner-centered and teacher-framed. Learner-centered and teacher-framed. A teacher is going to just facilitate this learning. And as Anita had said, the policymakers and the people in charge of infrastructure will have to come in. Let us look at more of that in our next session. It is already 9. And we didn't want to reach 9. We are supposed to do 7:30 to 8:30. We may have started late, but you have seen, at least I'm happy that by the end of this session, at least all of us, we now have an idea of what hybrid learning looks like. James, you've talked about developing the capacity of these teachers, the instructors. And IAN has a very good program, especially trade-based ICT, technical skills. We train trade-based technical skills so that if you are probably in electrical field, what are some of the technology development that have occurred around that? So we bring in and we train those teachers. That is a program that IAN does. It's only that so far we've been doing it in Rwanda because Rwandese are very serious people. But Kenyans, when you tell them, let us do something, they take a lot of time. Number two, it's all about, again, as the Minister of Education accepted, as TSC seen it as very important. But I think we are trying to move very quickly so that the teachers should start seeing themselves developing. And you're not developing for TSC. You're not developing yourself for Minister of Education. You're developing yourself as a person. You never know. In the next particular corner, you may get a very big opportunity that will just blow your life away. So as we do a lot of trade-based ICT training for technical TVET instructors, basically in Rwanda, and I think we are starting maybe the next round probably in Tanzania. But again, in Kenya, we're also working together very closely with TVET, the guy in charge of TVET, the PS. We are trying to reach out, and I think soon we'll start something like this. But I've seen this, the CBET has already come out, and that CBET probably engages a lot of professional development. If we get a chance, that's also another chance. So there's a lot of effort going around. So, and this particular kind of ideas are very good. We are going to put them in.